Hi, I'm Jessica Magnu, a registered licensed dietitian, nutritionist, and I'm a professor at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm an instructor in nutrition. I'm here to talk to everybody today at the high school about careers in dietetics. So how do you get to be a registered dietitian, which is why you're here? Okay. You've got to give a little effort, okay? Actually a lot of effort. So you can take a look at it, but you need a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics from the University of Pittsburgh. You can get similar courses make up here. You need 60 college credits to start out, what we call your prerequisites. And this is what I mentioned before. We've got a variety of different subjects that go into forming that registered dietitian. You're knowledgeable in so many facets. You've got biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, you've got algebra, statistics, you've got public speaking, you've got writing, you have intros to psychology and sociology. Psychology being you'll need to be prepared to working with individuals and understanding more about them, as well as those that might be taking a step, males and females, towards an eating disorder, which an eating disorder is first psychologically treated and involved before we can even come in nutritionally and help to treat them. It's a psychological disorder before it's a nutritional disorder. So we will have information on that. The other thing we have information on is an introduction to sociology. And that is basically talking about people, society, getting an idea, what are the trends, likes and dislikes, what do certain populations need to eat, how do they eat if they are in an area of low income, higher income, if you're trying to break into the sports nutrition world or you see an athlete, you're an athlete yourself, how do you know you're eating the right types of foods? So you will get experience in dealing with these individuals and learning and studying the ifs, ands, what's, hows, why, everything about it, so you can basically get a good idea about understanding people and what their needs might be. Okay? So you have a lot to do with that. And then Intro to Human Nutrition and Intro to Dietetics. In your sophomore year in the fall, that's where you'll bring it to me. So Intro to Human Nutrition, that will be your first course that you take as far as an introductory into nutrition, though a lot of these other courses have an emphasis building on some of the topics in nutrition as well. But that'll be your first taste, and we'll go over there. This is a little bit harder to see, and I think it's in your packet. But you start with your high school diploma, and then you apply to any university or college that has what we call ASCEND, which is an accredited college for an education, nutrition, dietetics program. It needs to be licensed and registered. Okay, you'll be licensed and registered those programs by the same national examination, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and our credentialing agency. So it's the same type of a thing to make sure you're getting every bit of education and experience that you can and need. You work your way through, and I'll come back to this in a minute. Before I get to that, there's also something called a DTR, or a Dietetic Technician Registered, is what that stands for. That's a smaller educational time period. It's a 2-year degree. You can go to CCAC to earn that. What it is dietetic technicians will actually come in and they assist the dietitian. They do many things a dietitian can, but if there are different types of difficult cases, much more involvement, higher risk individuals, clients, those are things they're not able to do, but they're more there to assist a dietitian. They're not just a dietary aid, they're far more education above and beyond. It is a 2-year degree that you can also do. Some people have gone 2 years for that and then decided, hey, I really love this, and they're out there, and no, I'm going to turn it into a dietetics career. So there's a lot of things you can do, but CCAC does offer that, and that's a 2-year program that you could do. Admission criteria, the basics. So this is what you want to know. What do I have to do to get in? We have admission criteria as far as a cumulative GPA overall for your transcripts, a 2.5. So we are very variety. We understand, and I know in our department, that not everybody's a test taker. Okay, definitely understand that. So we see that, but we have a minimum of 2.5. Same thing in your prerequisite courses, those 60 credits, a minimum of a 2.5, which is basically a C- or better. The majority of the students we have will all be higher than a 2.5, higher than C-minuses. There might be some classes at the college level where you try and you find a little bit more difficult. The learning level, the environment, time management, the structure of it may not be something you're used to yet. And as you get used to that, it also may not be something that's of great interest to you. So those are some of the courses that you might not do as well. And that's okay. We realize that because dietetics is, again, a science, and we're looking for the well-rounded students. We're also looking for students who have time management experience. Do you do anything else besides go to school? Do you play a sport in high school? Did you do that? Did you have a job? Also, many of our students have dual roles like that, and that shows us even more so that they can manage their time, they can handle the credit load, they can handle the information. A lot of responsibility and maturity goes into that. Okay. When you have your bachelor's degree, we have, again, the Ascend program, which is in a 4-year accredited degree program from one of the universities that has a degree program through the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which if they have a dietetics program, you're going to have the Ascend, the accreditation after that. It's a very specific, set, rigorous amount of coursework you need to do so you become that nutrition professional down the line after the 4 years. You have 2 options after the 4 years. Once your 4 years are over, you may go through and, first of all, do those 2 years of prerequisites. Then you can apply for admission to the dietetics program here at the University of Pittsburgh. You should do that at the end of fall of your sophomore year. So you send your application, your admission in. We're looking for individuals that have their grades, of course, we always look at that, but we're also looking at other things that you're going to do. Are you involved in sports, a job, other things? Have you volunteered anywhere in anything that has to do with nutrition and dietetics? Do you volunteer at one of the hospitals? Do you volunteer at the food bank? Have you volunteered to help out at a daycare center? Do you work in a capacity like that? Showing us that you're really attempting to see what that career is like on a very small path, very small track. That, for us, also shows us, well, did you like that? Or maybe this is not your cup of tea, but I'm really looking forward to this end of dietetics. I'm all about the sports. Great, we could use definitely a lot of that as well. So there's a lot out there, a lot to try. It's a huge field. So you have a lot of ideas. What we do for this is, just with a 4-year degree, you can graduate from our program, and you can then go out and get your own supervised practice. We have lists of places that have practices, different hospitals, different facilities. You need 1,200 hours of experience, actual hands-on experience. Once you have that, and they've signed off on that through the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, you can sit for the national registration exam, be licensed and registered. What we have at Pitt, our students are fabulous. You are very, very well prepared. Since we've been doing our program, we've had a 95% pass rate for the national examination. In the early years, we're up to 96, sometimes we're up to 97, down. Not sure how they do all the stats, but a minimum of 96 just for that. So you're very, very well prepared. Or the other option is, which is what a lot of the students like to do, is stay there for 1 extra year at Pitt. So you really end up putting in 5 years instead of 4. What we have is a master's in nutrition and dietetics as well. You can apply once you get partway through your junior year, and you can apply for that next stage and get the admission there. That is also a 2-year program that works, but by the time you get the hours out, depending on how you set it up, it could be 1.5 years, it could be a year, depending on your pickup of credits. Because a lot of students are coming in with credits already done in their prerequisites through dual enrollment or the AP courses. And to be honest with you, we take some, we don't take all, though we'll try to get you in as much as we can, give you credit for everything that you've done. The dual enrollment we're really taking credit for the undergraduate classes that you can take here in high school, and then get your English or your math, some of the prerequisites out of the way. So you might be on this track a little faster than another student. Either way, this track allows you to get your supervised practice experience and a master's degree with advanced training in nutrition, and then you will graduate and go right into taking the examination. So we kind of couple everything together. So you get that. Our students, since we've accepted this program 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe even longer than that, we've had a 100% pass rate every time. We have not had a student that's ever not passed the national examination on the first try. You are beyond well prepared and ready to go in. This is also where you do some of your supervised practice where you get to pick up and you have entrance into the job world as well. So you have that. So, sample some of our knowledge. Thought I'd throw this out here. Which contains more cholesterol? Give you an idea. Oh, she's going to make me take a test. What do you think? Which one looks like it contains more cholesterol? You have beef, sponge cake, or lemon meringue pie. What do you think? Anybody want to guess? You've got to know what sponge cake is. It's beef. again, after your first year, after your introduction to nutrition class with me, you will know the answer to all of these and much, much more. The answer here is B, because when you make a sponge cake, it's full of egg whites, and the cholesterol is in the egg yolk. Lemon meringue pie is made from the egg whites. That's the protein, the albumin part, and there's not the cholesterol in there. Okay? So the sponge cake, unfortunately, even 1/12, tiny skinny piece, there's that much with the egg yolks and the cholesterol that you're going to work with. How about E. coli? It's that time of year again. Where do we find E. coli? AJ?
Cattle.
Cattle. Where else? You got one, cattle. Anybody else want to take a guess? Go ahead.
Be in all of them?
You're correct. All of them except chicken. Okay?
Chicken.
All of them except chicken. Chicken is full of
Salmonella.
salmonella. Okay, so we have a lot of foodborne illness coming up. This always comes to play with the public health dietitians down at the Allegheny County Health Department, or dietitians that might be working at Mercy Hospital or UPMC, any of the hospitals there, St. Clair, because whenever people are taking their deer to be processed, possibly it's not the most correct or sanitary food conditions, not following the regulations, and it happens all the time, unfortunately. Deer jerky is common right now, again, with hunting season, so we go through cycles where you would work and educate the public on that. You could go online to the Allegheny County Health Department and get some information about it as well. Half a cup of oil is how many calories?
What kind of oil?
Any kind that you might cook with. Olive, canola, you name it, any kind of oil. What do you think?
C.
C? Good guess. Actually, it's D. Okay? 1/2 cup is 960 calories. 1/2 cup is not a lot. So consider how much salad dressing that you might make, an Italian dressing, something like that, with the oil content, how much you're putting in. There are 9 calories in every gram of fat. It's our most concentrated source of energy. So you'll run into a lot of extras and extra sources of fat to take in. A lot of things we don't realize. 120 calories per tablespoon. Tablespoons aren't that big. Okay, usually the serving size is 2 tablespoons for salad dressing. So do you have dressing with your salad or salad with your dressing? We're on that one. Infants are born with what taste sensation?
That one.
Sour. Okay. What do you think? What everybody goes for, again, they have not much of a taste sensation with their taste buds, but for them, the answer is sweet. Very, very mild, which if we all were to take samples, which in my class we do, Intro to Nutrition, I take samples and I bring out baby food and I let them taste baby carrots. And I let them taste baby beets we do green peas, we do other things, and everybody says, oh, they don't taste like anything, or they're very tasty. To an infant that has no taste buds, it tastes like sucking on a sugar cube, and it's lovely, they love it. So you will all have that when you were born, so you already passed that stage. Which is the highest in fat? Olives, peanuts, avocados, or mushrooms?
Mushrooms.
You. Well, you want to guess this is a what? How's that one grown? Okay, which one do you think?
Peanuts.
Peanuts, okay. For avocados, olives. Actually, those little olives are little fat balls. Okay. And unfortunately, if you think about it, how many times we press olives to get olive oil? We have that. Peanut oil, we do the same, but olives are a total type of fat source that you have. There's not much else to them. Tastes great. That's pretty much what you have. And mushrooms being a vegetable, they're very, very, very low in fat. Virtually fat-free. Again, you could add oil to them and saute, and then you've added fat calories to them. What's the serving size for salt? How much salt should you have? You're in my class, you know this. A lot of things you won't forget. What do you think?
Less than we really have.
Less than you really need. I always have somebody who says to my class, not as much as I put on, or a couple shakes, or maybe a tablespoon. What do we need? It's only 1/4 teaspoon. And keep in mind, salt is sodium and chloride mixed together. Your body sees that totally different whenever you're dealing with the different minerals, and that we will talk about again in one of the basic introductory classes. But 509 milligrams of sodium just in that 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So keep in mind, salt is made up of sodium and chloride. We'll explore a lot of the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that you have and their interactions and why they're so important in the body. I don't think my slide picked this one up, but how many calories in 3 green M&Ms? Just 3. As a dietitian, you'll know this, did you?
100 something?
Just in 3. Just 3.
50.
50? You're close. I don't think my slide picked it up. No, it didn't. Okay, I apologize for that one. But there's about 34 calories in 3 green M&Ms. Okay, so again, that's just calories. We're not talking fat calories, carb calories, just in general calories. And that's just 3 green M&Ms. But they're good looking. Iron supplements used to be this color. Okay? And unfortunately, we had a lot of iron overdoses with kids because they equated the green pills with green M&Ms. So they have since changed that. They're dark and dark greenish, almost looking black, and they're no longer coated like this to look like M&Ms. Okay? So we have that. Which oils are PUFAs? We have to know what a PUFA is first, right? Again, you would know that after you're done with the basic intro to nutrition class with me. Polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are the types of oils that you want to have more of in your diet that will ultimately help, again, to bring down your cholesterol level. Safflower, sunflower, canola, palm kernel, or coconut oil. They're all the same, right? If you think of coconut water out there, it's really popular right now. Okay, unfortunately, that's not it. Okay? The only ones that are unsaturated are going to be canola oil, which is the best oil you can buy. Is going to be most unsaturated. Is going to be canola oil. The next step down is going to be the safflower oil. Then you have sunflower. Olive oil itself is more of a monounsaturated fatty acid. It doesn't increase, doesn't decrease your HDL, your cholesterol levels, the good cholesterol levels. The other 2 are liquid at room temperature, palm kernel, and coconut oil, and all 3 of those are actually full of saturated fat. So the bad fats that you don't want to have. It can lead to heart disease. What's the best post-exercise beverage? What should you drink after you're done exercising? Jason? I didn't hear you?
D.
D. Why? Do you know? What's in milk?
Fat or
You're on the right track. You're on the right track. Very good. It is D. Skim chocolate milk. Because it's going to have, after exercise, you've stretched the muscles. There's muscle tears. There's muscle breaks. Not anything you require surgery or hospitals for, but breakdown of tissue normally when you exercise to expand and contract the muscle. You also have carbohydrate sources stored, energy sources stored within that muscle cell, the entire amount of the tissues. So we need to replete, to replenish those. So we need the carbohydrate to go back in to the muscle cells. And we also need protein, which the actual whey protein is what's in skim milk, and that's been one of the best that you can get for helping to repair the tissue growth for the protein content with the chocolate milk. It's got vitamins, it's got minerals, it's got about 80 calories. So this is the easiest thing to do. So we push a lot of chocolate milk. If you don't like chocolate, you can get skim strawberry milk, or you can get skim vanilla flavored milk. Any of those items, the skim milk is the key, but it's got the whey protein, which is also a complete protein. And the complete protein makes sure your body has enough when we break down and talk about amino acids, the building blocks of protein, so that we can grow and we can heal and we repair those tissues after exercise. Okay, so we're pushing exercise, but we're also pushing proper nutrition pre and post, as well as during. During chocolate. Chocolate is just one of those things that the majority of the people prefer. They prefer chocolate as opposed to strawberry or vanilla flavored. Chocolate milk is easy, quick to grab, and it is a little smaller amount of higher sugar content, not much, but it's also a glucose base, which different types of carbohydrate are much more readily absorbed back into the cells or when you're exercising, after exercising. And if you take those in, you don't get the stomach cramping, the pain. Things that are fructose based, which is another type of carbohydrate, which is primarily found in fruits. So any fruit drink, any type of apples, bananas, things like that after exercise, or even during, you get some stomach cramping because of the breakdown process of that. What we like is get the chocolate milk out there. Forget the Gatorade, forget the Powerade, forget the sports drinks, forget all the other stuff. You want to have something to replenish and replete. So we take a look at that. And the majority of people prefer chocolate flavor over anything else. There's really nothing else with the chocolate. Okay? You'd like to say, hey, it's great, but if that's your chocolate fix, it's a good way to get it. For all of you, anybody who's involved in athletes, I know a lot of times I see pasta parties, things like that going on for sports, in all the different levels. Okay? How do you do carbohydrate loading? What is carbohydrate loading? Loading up on certain sources of carbohydrates to fuel yourself and to fill basically your body's storage tank before an event. It's glycogen is our storage form of energy of carbohydrate for a 24-hour storage. And what we want to do is try to fill that glycogen storage tank to the max as much as we can so that we can have a little bit of extra energy, effort to compete for the next day, to really do our extra body processes, to do and perform a little bit better, so we can actually be more efficient. When we're exercising and taking a look at the whole thing about fitness and nutrition, you'll see that there are many different processes. A different source of energy starts when you are just moving for 8 seconds, past 10 seconds, past 20 seconds, up to 30 minutes. We're looking at many different energy sources, from plain carbohydrate in the cell all the way up to fatty acids, which is basically a long-term energy storage that we're trying to burn up. Variety of things that you'll learn about. Again, this is all basic introductory nutrition that you'll be able to build on. So this one, it's actually 4 to 6 days before the event. So if you go to a pasta party the night before, is it doing you much good? Not much. Okay, you really need to do the proper buildup. The problem is, if you don't do carbohydrate loading right, it can actually have a negative effect on your system. It can actually be harmful to you, especially if you don't do it correctly numerous times. Okay, so we really work with this. The dietitians that are sports nutritionists, Leslie Bonchi and the crew here at UPMC, that work with the Pirates, Pens, and Steelers, especially the hockey players who have continuous use of energy. We really work with them about the carbohydrate loading before the games, because their games might be every other day. So we're really working to optimize their diet, and they're taking in 10, 12,000 calories, pre and post games, things like that, to get those calories in, because they want to be lean, fit, active, to have 90 minutes or 90 seconds on the ice, up and down, up and down. If any of us tried that and got on the ice, we'd get on the ice and we'd probably make it there, maybe back, but then we have to throw in arm movements and try to shoot a goal and get around other players. Some of us are like, we can just stand up on the ice, so there's a lot of difference. You have to keep in mind your total body energy source. There's a lot that goes into it. They make it look super easy. Okay. Yes?
Do you recommend the whole wheat pasta to the athletes, or does it really not?
For them, it's a taste preference,
Okay.
because depending on what they're doing and the type, the more refined, or I shouldn't say refined, but whole wheat pasta before a game is digested a lot easier. That would be something for that initial event before carbohydrate loading, or even a pre-event meal 3 to 4 hours before they actually have their hockey game, or if you're a swimmer, before your actual swim meet that morning, to really get those glycogen storage tanks take full right before the event, and so that you have that extended amount of energy burst to keep going. Okay, so there's quite a variety that you'll learn about it. Most people just do here the night before, and you don't get the maximum benefit. Okay, again, depending on what you take in, it might be more high in fat, and it might actually hinder your performance if you're got stomach upset, cramps, pain, and you're trying to run a marathon or you're trying to swim. So there's a proper way to do it, and it really works if you do it properly. Main energy source for the brain and nervous system. Why do I always tell you? Eat breakfast. It'll do you the best on your test. Fuel yourself for the day.
Okay.
It is a carbohydrate. It's the only thing your brain wants to use. Protein is for growth and repair, building muscle tissue cells. It's an inefficient source occasionally that your body will use. Unfortunately, it can't use much of it. Once we start not being able to use systems, then we're out of luck. Okay? As far as fat goes, that's long-term storage. Your brain doesn't like any of that, and your brain and nervous system don't utilize that for their source of energy. Okay? Keep in mind, brain, spinal cord, and all your cells have that energy source. What are the 4 C's of food safety? What time are you finished with? Are you finished here?
Yeah, we like, what, are we 45?
Okay,
42?
still got a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the 4 C's of food safety? I heard one. Good job. Good job. AJ, you know these. He's like, you're picking on me. Okay? You've got to chill properly, proper temperature. You've got to cook it thoroughly. Okay? You've got to clean, wash your hands. You can't believe how many people do not know how to wash their hands. We'll teach you how to wash your hands, how you wash fruits and vegetables. We'll do little experiments in the classroom. I bring it into the preschools also and the grade schools. I'll bring in Glow Germ, and we'll put, it picks up and adheres to bacteria. People wash their hands, see how soon they come back. Do they know how to sing happy birthday? They take the 2 minutes to sing the ABCs. Most people don't. Unfortunately, there is a lot of bacteria around your rings, wrist, watches. If you have drier skin, that adheres to the different cuts inside your skin as well, and it's an easy way to transmit bacteria. The #1 way to prevent any kind of foodborne illness, transmission of bacteria and germs, is just to wash your hands. Just want to wash your hands. The last one is cross-contamination. Keep anything raw, meats, away from everything else. Clean those surfaces often. because we don't want to pass on some other type of foodborne illness. When we start talking raw meat, there's many, many kinds. There's over, what, 2,300 kinds of salmonella. So who knows which one you'll get. There's 30 kinds of different perfringens, and there's a variety of kinds of E. coli. You don't want any of them. Okay? We don't want any of them. Foodborne illnesses appear around Thanksgiving. You're going to be hearing these in the news as well. The Allegheny County Public Health Department with dietitians get very, very, very busy around this time because people have questions. How do you cook a turkey? What's the right temperature? Anybody? Like, well, I don't make turkey. A minimum of what? 165. That's where you want to make sure it's at. And how do you check to that look? You look at it and go, smells good to me. Done? Okay. You'd be surprised our habits.
Does the thing pop up?
Okay, the thing pop up. Thank you for saying that. A lot of my students do. The thing pop up is actually, you can pull that out, and it's going to tell you nothing. It's just a piece of plastic. So what you want to do, it doesn't tell you any indication. It will pop up when that section gets to a certain temperature. It's made to pop out. Sometimes. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. What you actually need is a digital or regular meat thermometer that you can see, and there's a little bit of an indent right on the bottom prong of it. And that's a sensor. You put it in to an area that's the thickest part of the meat, and you let it sit there for a few seconds, and you check the temperature. Make sure that doesn't hit the bone, because it'll read the temperature of the bone rather than the meat. So you want to make sure it's there, and you want to check to 165. Once you pull that out, it's going to continue to cook if you keep it covered, something we call carryover cooking, for at least the next 15 to 20 minutes as the heat continues to decrease in that product. However, if you don't cook it to that degree, you're not killing salmonella and whatever variety of other types of foodborne illness are in there. You also have people who like to stuff their turkey. Okay? Turkey is considered poultry. So why shouldn't you stuff your turkey? What do you think?
Cross-contamination.
Cross-contamination, right? With that lovely salmonella. The problem is that there's no way we can guarantee the salmonella is out of that crevice, that cavity that you stuff the turkey in. You can also not guarantee the temperature of the stuffing, and that's the problem. What we're doing, if the temperature doesn't get to the correct temperature inside that cavity, is we end up with a variety of different types of foodborne illnesses, and we've actually continued to help that bacteria grow rather than kill it. So you want to stay away from that, but they're very, very appropriate to these. Just this last one, so you can see, Staph aureus is available for a foodborne illness, and this is from people not washing their hands right. And especially if you touch your face, feel like this, you have any open sores, cuts, pimples, anything like that, it's naturally in our systems. But when we take it out and we add a further bacteria to it, we can get this passed on from people to people. So wash your hands. Okay. Before, during, after. Salmonella is always there in the intestinal tract and fecal matter of individual chicken, poultry, lovely. E. coli is in any undercooked meat. So you're going to see that, especially cattle, deer, goat, sheep. You're going to see a lot of that. And then Shigella is another one, hand washing. And people or food service workers that don't wash their hands afterwards. You can hear about outbreaks on the news. It happens. Everybody's rushed, not taking time. We're all helping, we're all laughing at our own Thanksgiving meal. It's fun. Ask somebody to wash their hands. If you're not sure, ask them to do it again. Just because, who wants to get sick? And if we heat all of this and not to the proper temperature, the bacteria is there. All we're doing is cooking and growing that bacteria, and we're serving it to you on a plate. So keep in mind, we want to make sure everybody's safe and healthy. And this will be in the news every Thanksgiving, because I guess, you know, it's just one of those things of being human. You want to do what you want to do. Okay. Well, this is vegetarian. Do we have, they need to go? I don't want anybody to be like,
No.
okay. We have a couple, just a couple more I can show you.
We'll send out the
Oh, you're
form
good.
to let them
Okay.
know that they checked out a little late.
Alrighty, a vegetarian eating lifestyle is better than a meat eating lifestyle. True or false? False, very good. Okay, this one's hardly fitting on the slide, but the reason being is a vegetarian lifestyle can be very, very healthy. And it's a great lifestyle to decrease all your risks of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, strokes, you name it, it's great if you do it properly. If you don't do it properly, you're actually limiting it, especially iron, B12, protein, and vitamin D. And we're seeing that now. We just have the national guidelines for vitamin D. The National Research Council got together and they said, hey, we're not getting enough vitamin D. We're replacing milk products with soda pops, Gatorade, Powerade, vitamin mineral waters, anything like that, Capri Suns, juice drinks. and we're not taking the calcium and vitamin D in. So we've increased our recommendations just last year. So now it's even a little bit harder to get in this lifestyle because vitamin D is in a lot of animal products, especially milk and dairy products. And a vegetarian may or may not have those products in their diet. There's also 5 different types of vegetarian, and I always tell my students and my clients, pick one. If you're going to be one, great, vegetarian is great, but pick a type. Do you like to eat eggs, but you're not going to have any other animal products? Great, you're an ovo vegetarian. Do you just drink milk? Nothing else, no other animal products. You're a lacto vegetarian. So there's certain nutrients that you have. We have individuals who are polo-vegetarians. They'll just eat chicken and then avoid any other meat products. So we have a variety of different types. What type you are will depend on what type of nutrients you may be missing. So we really need to work with that, and as long as you do a vegetarian diet, it's great. However, compared to a meat-based diet, that's also your choices. If you take choices that are going to be higher fat meats, a lot of fried meats, things like that, you are going to get a lot of the improper health risks, high cholesterol, a lot of problems and damage from them. But if you have meat items 2 to 3 times a week, and they're low-fat cuts of meat, and they're baked, not fried, you're actually getting a great source of vitamins, iron, protein, minerals. That's also a healthy lifestyle to do. So we take a look at the variety. Again, it's what you're eating and how you're preparing your food. That's really the basic key. Which are fad diets? You heard them all? This is the biggie right now, paleo diet. This was last year's. Okay, caveman diet, okay, see them all? Okay, which ones are fad diets? All of them, yes, they're fad diets. This is the newest fad. This is a great one. Keeping in mind, all of them are fad diets, and the whole reason being that is there's a starting and a stopping point, but they're very limiting in nutrients. Sometimes they're longer term, which causes more damage long term to the human body. Other times, they're a starting, stopping point. The problem you run into is they don't get you to change your eating habits. So you go back to your other lifestyle. When you are on a simple eating plan, we have one common goal. We're going to pick one thing, work with you, and work with you on that to make a lifestyle change so it's lasting. So that you're not going to go back and gain weight and lose weight and gain and lose. We'll help you understand what you're doing and maybe doing incorrectly and how to make some changes. That's something we can do for that. These diets really can't help you do that. They come, they go. This cattle soup diet's been around for years. I think like 30, Army brat. They call it different names, but they're all out there. Problem is there's a lot of individuals out there, a lot of Hollywood stars that promote these things. Dr. Oz, he's one of our biggest sources of nutrition quackery or misinformation out there. And it's sad, it's scary. Okay, everybody loves him. He's turned from a cardiac surgeon to an entertainer. Okay, but he doesn't provide his research. That's what we call it. You'll do a nutrition quackery for me. You will pick one type of item, or one type topic in nutrition, and you will find a reliable source, what we call a quackery or non-reliable source. Most of my students choose YouTube, and there's a variety of stuff on there YouTube. You can pick anything. You can pick sugar, you can pick diabetes, you can pick infant formula, you can pick creatine, you can pick protein bars, you can pick whatever you like that interests you. And it's harder to find reliable sources, but I teach you step-by-steps to do that and what to look out for. And that's the big difference from what you're going to see, what's out there. So when you go to the gym and you see all they have available, the people out there, you're going to be able to walk past and say no thanks. So you know exactly what's in there. Yes?
Do you do private consultations for people? And I'm just wondering if you go into this field, I know a lot of gyms have dietitians and so on and so forth. What can someone expect to make per hour for something like that on the average? I know everyone's
that really depends. When you start out, if you were starting out with a place you did your supervised practice, you could run into, start with like 36,000, can be up to 40,000, and there's other dietitians that are up in management or private consulting that are over over 100,000. It really depends on what you do. You can work part-time. Philly, a friend of mine works in Philly, and she works 3 days a week and makes $60,000 a year because she goes into homes doing nutrition education, and they found statistics that it keeps the people out of the hospital. It's better overall for healthcare dollars and that whole insurance purposes. So they're very, very big on that in Philadelphia.
Are insurance carriers starting to now cover?
Yes.
Those?
There's dietitians you can go and be licensed on your own. I'm licensed to provide through Medicare for certain disease processes and states. I also go out through the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I do presentations for pediatrician offices. And we'll go out so the pediatrician and the nurses and the staff get an hour or two of continuing education for their registration, but they also get updated information on now how we can charge and treat individuals with obesity in the clinics for the kids. How do we pay for that? What do we do? And there are more and more places that you have. Pediatricians' offices are great on board. Physician offices, your general doctor's offices are getting there, getting a dietitian on board. But again, we sometimes have a little bit more that we want to do with kids. We're going to push more for kids than adults, though unfortunately right now we're in a pediatric obesity epidemic. So if you are somebody who likes dietetics, you will always have a job. Okay?
So the
Always,
applicant
always,
is
always.
really, is really good.
It is. It's very, very good. And we're into more and more and more and more things. People are starting to realize that the basic bottom line is nutrition, and being the fact that we're all in such a hurry and we don't take time and we portion size and biggie size, we have a need for dietitians everywhere. What we're finding is people that are calling themselves nutritionists or people that maybe are grandfathered kind of, well, I always kind of taught this in school or I did this, they're on their way out. And they're being pulled out because they don't know the updated information. And they're really not able to help as much. It's a science, it's always changing. You have to be motivated, you have to want to do it because everything changes week by week. Final thing I can leave you with is the big thing that's going to be coming up now with chicken and poultry. It just started last week, if you saw it on the news, with China and the Chinese government. Actually, my friend from the USDA came in and spoke to my students on Monday, and he said that March to April, end of March to April is kind of the downtime period, but we have opened it up now for the Chinese government to come in and get involved in the United States with meat packing and just with poultry. So, controversy, because we have a lot of individuals saying, here's the setup. Chinese government did ask us, the USDA, to go out and give them specific details how to set up a slaughterhouse and a packaging plant. And none of the slaughterhouses met the criteria. Packaging plants did, which, number one, is why one, not the other. The continuous of meat inspectors, continuity, are they going to have that out there? We're not sure. But what the USDA or the United States government, what we agreed to is the Chinese government can purchase a portion of that. They have to purchase their chicken frozen and slaughtered in the United States. They will get it frozen or fresh frozen and shipped, exported over to China. In their packaging plants, they're going to make chicken nuggets, chicken fries, chicken steaks, chicken patties, you name it, and a variety of other things that contain chicken. So frozen dinners, chicken noodle soup, the chicken base for ramen noodles. If it has chicken in it, there's a good % chance that they're going to be into that market. And then they'll ship it back to the United States. So then the second part of the controversy is, what's the food label going to say? It's made in the USA, but packaged somewhere else, so that's the next controversy. That was just the approval came down last week, and then so by March or April of next year, you're going to be hearing a lot about this coming up in the news because there's such fights back and forth. What are the controls? What are the regulations? Increasing in the amount of foodborne illness now because our regulations are a little bit stricter than what they have in other countries. See, so we don't know. So that's kind of the biggest to-do. This to give you an idea, this is something that you'll do towards the end of my class. Getting an idea of how you put a lot of the information together. Again, this is basic nutrition. Jumping in there, so when you go out to eat in restaurants, you're prepared to help individuals when you're done figuring out, I want to know how many calories from protein only and grams of protein you're going to get from an 8-ounce Victoria filet at Outback Steakhouse. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to figure out and know the calculations for that. We go over that. This is just protein calories. Calories come from fat, protein, and carbohydrate. We're only looking at the protein calories. What you do is there's an 8-ounce portion of meat, okay, times 7 grams. So there's 7 grams of protein in every ounce. So 8 times 7 is 56. So you get 56 grams of protein in that 8-ounce portion. As far as that goes, you take your 56 grams of protein times 4 calories in every gram of protein, and then you're going to get 224 calories. That's just calories from protein. We're not talking fat calories that are added. If it's breaded or soaked in a solution that has a little bit of carbohydrate in it, to soften it with some sodium, we didn't add those in. And so this is just one source of calories, but keeping in mind, figuring out these types of things you'll be able to do as well. So you have that. Get an idea. And you'll get into applying your knowledge when we talk about life cycles. So infants, tell me about infants. How much do they need? What do they eat? How do we know? How many cups of fluid does an infant eat a day?
A lot more than most people.
A lot more? Well, out of these, which one do you think?
D.
D, close, just off by a cup. Okay? They need 1.5 mLs of water, H2O, per kilogram calorie ingested, or per calorie ingested. So an average infant might take around 800 calories. Take that times 1.5. So you're going to know how to figure out fluid needs for you later on, for an athlete, for an adult, for someone who's dehydrated, a burn patient. You'll learn it all, okay, as you go through that. This is eatright.org. This is the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, it's called now. This is their website. If you want any information about becoming a dietitian, what do you do, accredited universities, it's all on eatright.org. And some of the information I passed to you is there, but this gives you a really good idea of what a dietitian does. Plus, it's also a site for if you have questions. You want to know proper cooking temperatures. You want to know something about the paleo diet. It's all on there. Okay, this is where the nutrition experts can work from. And there are some things to look at. I just want to show you one other last thing. One of the other things you'll do, and I know I did this for Anthony's class a couple weeks ago, I came in and I talked to Mrs. Simpson and Mrs. Potts, right? Their classes about basic carbohydrates. This one is Girl Scout cookies. Okay, not to pick on Girl Scout cookies, but just so you're aware, peanut butter Girl Scout cookies are great. There are just on the food label 11 grams of sugar in Girl Scout cookies, and that's a serving size of 3. All the nutrition information is on the label that you have. Problem is most of us don't look at it, so we don't really know what we're getting. If you take that, these are sugar cubes. Okay? There are 4 calories in every gram of carbohydrate, 4 calories just like every gram of protein. Fat has 9 calories in every gram, so it's our most concentrated source, and alcohol is 7, it's right in the middle. So we have that, our different calorie sources, and those are the things that make up our calories. With these cookies, if you just look at the sugar on the label, it says under total carbohydrate, it says right down on the side, 11 grams just of sugar, plain old sugar, and this is table sugar, sucrose. To get it into these cute little squares, they actually have a lot of air packed in there, so it's not the correct amount. This is about half of the amount that you would have in a normal teaspoon of sugar. So you have about 22 cubes of sugar that you get. Either eat this or 3 of these for the sugar. And so you have this amount. So you can see when you break it down to take a look, what is it really like? I have one other one to show you. AJ stacked up the Mountain Dew for me. He stacked up this goodie. This is Mountain Dew. So you can either suck on these, some water, or the Mountain Dew. Plus there's also a lot of caffeine in here. There's about 48 milligrams of caffeine. And if you think of something like Red Bull, it's easier to look at. Sorry, AJ, I messed up your challenge. So you can take a look. Suck on those or drink this. A lot of extra added sugars. And the added sugars are providing extra calories and fat, the portion size, the biggie size. And that's why we have our obesity epidemic, both kids and adults. So it's a lot of health risk statistics. And I'll leave you with one statistic before if you have any questions. Texas Children's Hospital in Houston, they have an actual clinic there that they've been working for years and doing research for weight loss, a bariatric clinic for obesity, just for children. And their most recent statistic is an individual that develops type 2 diabetes because of obesity. Okay? Not the kind that you're born with or you kind of get later on that you require insulin right away, but type 2 diabetes, which is usually from obesity, taking in too many calories, too much extra refined sugars. They lose anywhere from 17 to 27 years life expectancy if they develop it by the age of 14. And that's what we're looking at right now. So if you can think between 20 and 30 years of your life gone if you've got diabetes starting that early, type 2 diabetes. So it's a very, very huge problem, a huge statistic. But again, we're on a rush. We're hurried, biggie size. We want to try to help out. That's where dietitians come in. We need to educate. We need to get that information out there. And we have been through American Academy of Pediatrics. Well, I have been with the doctor's offices. That's where you go for your checkup. We're getting the information to physicians because physicians have 1 year, or excuse me, 1 semester of nutrition. They're referring to dietitians because they don't know. So if they say, you need to lose weight, well, great. What do you do? How do I do it? We can't really tell you that because they don't know how to do that. That's not something that's their specialty. So they'll send you to make an appointment with a dietitian. Somebody who can actually get you the information. And that would be something that you can utilize your career for as well, depending on where you're at. Makes a huge impact. Okay? Awesome. Anybody have a major question I can answer real quick? No? kind of gave you it all. We had a little bit of a late start, but you got to see where you're at. Any other questions, eatright.org or my last name at pitt.edu, so magnu@pitt.edu. I ran into somebody in the grocery store at Giant Eagle. They were asking me a lot of questions. Our department in the dean's office is fabulous. I have some business cards for Natalie, who works in there, and then there's the actual individual cards that I have right in the corner. If the job fairs usually have information, a lot of financial aid information, and basic general questions answered. If you would like more about dietetics specifically, that's, you can either come back to me or the dean's office has Natalie in there, and there's a couple other people. Absolutely. Magnu@pitt.edu. She brought cards, but okay, you can do that. But if you sign up on one of the cards, I can take that back with me, or you can just give it to Ms. Michaels or Mrs. Smith. You can do either one. I can get it back to our department, and then they sign you up automatically for different seminars by email. I shouldn't say sign you up, but they just send you the email alerts about them. They just had one on Saturday where students can come in, and there was probably like 300-400 students there just wanting information about careers. The information they give you is, what exact classes do I have to take? Tell me about this. Do you take any of my AP credits, dual enrollment? That's their questions that you really can't get answered oftentimes at just job fairs or like seminars, things like that. It's more financial aid they talk about. There are financial aid people there as well, but to get the specifics, or you want to know more about what it actually is, what am I going to be required to take or do? I'm not real strong in math, but I love science, okay? Or I love math, hate science. Is there a career out here? How many credits and what do I need to be an athletic trainer? There's a lot of things out there. So there's other information if you want it. I'll leave those with your guidance counselors. But there's more out there, but if you'd like to have specific information, those email alerts come out when they set up these specific programs through Pitt, then you can go ahead and fill out one of the cards. She's so good at it. Those are there if anybody would like them. Okay. Anybody has any questions? You're all good? Well, it's nice to see you all.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Smallest class ever. I love it.